Hey, welcome to my video. I'm Jennifer Roberts. This is Pub, and this is a write-in on the wall. Sorry I haven't been around. I've been super busy making the teas. Got the packaging came for them and from my own garden, and getting it out there with all of the health benefits that is attached to it. Hopefully selling online real soon because it's going down real well. So and amongst other things, being very active against the tyranny that's being brought down on us right here, right now, is another thing that I've been busy doing, as well as acting as mummy. So this writing on the wall won't be too long, but it was something Q Reeves said that got me thinking along the lines of this. Time. Breath being a reflection, a produce of time. That with our breath work, and breath is being attacked with this spell work that's going on right now. So it's been very much on my mind. The whole reappearance, reemergence in the consciousnesses of many with the Lilith connection and energy is very apparent right now. So breath has been very much at the forefront. It's the forefront of all experience in this realm. Even the plants breathing, the fungi breathing. And so breath in the snapshot of a life lived in what we call a human body is a reflection of time in itself, but it's also a reflection of that moment in time. So you look at maybe right now, everybody's afraid of breath. They're afraid of the time and what time they'd have left here, but not only what time they'd have left here, I'd argue what kind of existence and moments in the time that they have left here, how long they have of that. And so just going to put pop out because the sage, I think, is a bit smoky for her. Come on, baby. There you go. There you go, Poppy. I'm actually going to open the window. Sage doing its job. It's a bit smoky. So, yeah, how much time they have here and what kind of time it will be. Okay, so we've got that. If you look at deep, slow breath work, this is where we seem to be able to slow time down. You get really good at it and you can stop time in your reality. So can you bend time when you do that? I think so. And so this is where meditation, it's reflected because we are slowing down, we're stopping thought, we're stopping the talking, we're stopping the moving, or if we're moving, it's very automatic. But with deep meditation, we're stopping the moving. So that is reflected in the fact that there is this slowing of breath. It reflects a slowing of movement. It reflects a way for us to consciously step out of time in order to bend, manipulate, health, all sorts. When you look at the moments where you are making love and you are skilled enough in your breath work to respond to the feelings that your body has delivered to it. And so often at the orgasmic point, It will be the space in time where you are doing the panting. It again, it gives you that out of body experience. You step out of time in that moment. But even in this reality, if anybody was watching you, like in meditation, you would be, if that's your thing, it would be witnessed. Your euphoric moment of stepping out of the body would be witnessed in this physical reality, in that it doesn't tend to last too long. Even those who practice sex magic and tantric sex, they can prolong the feeling. We can prolong that feeling for quite a length of time compared to where it might start on the scale with somebody who isn't practiced or well versed in that, of those practices. But still, in the grand scheme of things, if you were to add up those moments in a human life experience, that time would be short. Meditation, again, it's on a varying scale, but that would be in the snapshot. It would be, you know, short amounts of time where you get into that deep meditation where you can step out of your body. So at night, we slow our breath. We don't take in as much oxygen. And even our varying degrees of sleep, levels of sleep, are measured partly with the breath. In that when we're into that moment in deep sleep where we can dream, we step out of this body, and time doesn't exist in those moments. Again, over a night time, this doesn't last too long. You know, we dip in and out of it. We don't stay in it for too long, added up to the other aspects of dream time, of sleep time. When we get frightened, when we get nervous, we tend to breathe more shallowly and more fast, and more speedily. So when we are in a fearful state, or there is something that is causing the adrenaline to peak in the body to give you that fight or flight feeling, this is when we would be breathing more shallow and breathing faster. Again, over the grand scheme of any given day, we shouldn't really be feeling this level of fear where it is affecting our breath for too long of the day. Often when people are in those states, again, you step out of time consciously. You know, it feels, a minute feels like an hour feels like a week. You step out of that time. With medium breath, you come back into time and the constructs of your day, of that, the time in your day. So again, the more mundane, the more to-do list type energy, you know, again, we're breathing in a medium state. You know, we're not fast, we're not slow, we're breathing in a medium state. So when we die, we sort of, again, there's a lot of that chain stalking breathing, isn't there, where it's the panting but too extreme, because the intake gets less and less and less. So you would presume that during the chain stalking, during the breathing that is leading up to physical bodily death, you would presume then that we are stepping out of time. We are out of time, quite literally. stepping out of time into realities that are totally new, maybe, or maybe known to you from a previous life and death, who knows. But you definitely step out of the mundane day-to-day existence, breath, time, or at least to those breathing in a certain way that you once lived with, out of their time. So if we have that to go on, what would it mean when we artificially force breath, like with the machines? And maybe that balance, if we know that person is going to recover and it's going to be pretty quick, maybe that balance is right, that we do that. Because surely with breath of the physical body, we're anchoring, are we? Anchoring maybe that spirit, that's to the soul level, to this human body. But then if you could then ask that knowing person of that experience of what it's like to be anchored in, when you've maybe reached that euphoric moment of the orgasm of breathlessness. You know, when people have near-death experiences, they speak of a peace, a release from stress, a feeling of euphoria, orgasmic experience. They speak of a pleasant thing, usually a lot of the time. I'm not going to say usually, a lot of the time, that's reported. So what is it when we anchor in? When we anchor in that person too, that sage is so strong. Broke it up a bit. What is it when we do that? Is that a comfortable experience? Is it an uncomfortable experience? But either way, we can say that the existence in this reality is very much, maybe not even entirely, but very much anchored in and reflected by the breath. How many breaths have we got left? And then I go along the line of, if we were, and sorry if this is a bit disjointed because it's a real quick thought and then that's matured quickly. And so if we are then to look at what's been going on, and part of the reason that I get so viciously and righteously angered about what is going on with the puppets of the world and those behind them, giving them the script, is that the spell work, even of the propaganda of I can't breathe, and mimicking that by masking that breath up in order to give the adrenaline feeling that you would get via a euphoric orgasmic experience. Tying that all together to manifest your spell is genius, in that there's a reason we don't stay in breath that is reflective of a euphoric, orgasmic, or fearful and adrenaline full position, because we don't think clearly during those moments. So they've tied everything together in a real neat bow of us subconsciously always knowing that time here in this reality, in this particular way of this reality, is reflected in how many breaths we have left and what kind of experiences those breaths will reflect. So they've actually put the subconscious fear out of, I can't breathe. Even the fires being seen on the news is smoke. We don't breathe well in smoke. And then making sure it is really publicized to nth degrees that this thing that we're dealing with right now is to do with respiratory issues. That's predominantly the worst factor of it. And then they've physically given the physical manifestation of that on mass levels, because people aren't breathing properly. They're not taking in as deep a breath. They're not getting rid of what they need to get rid of in the exhalation. So they're literally blowing and breathing in smoke to their own brain, to their own consciousness. They're like seeing in a fog, because they're literally breathing in again a reflection of what we would be breathing in a fire or after a fire, smoke. So no wonder they can't see clearly. So ironically and very, very cleverly, this whole spell work, they've actually been able to create the fear of something, or relabel and package, relabel, edit, and put out the same thing in a different way. They've then tied it in with the virtue signaling and, you know, to save you from fear, to save you from your worst nightmare, use this. When actually this, being the mask, is actually the worst nightmare. They have then put out decisions and rules and laws, given out vote-in systems for these very people en masse to make decisions that we all have to live by, or be complacent and apathetic about decisions that we all have to live by. So in a genius way, they've always known this, had to affect a certain proportion, a certain percentage, directly affect, I mean, a certain percentage of the masses. Because as a sideline, as a side note, as a side effect in infecting just a proportion, a percentage of the population. They've known in their equation, in their magic equation, they have known that the rest who aren't directly affected by it will be still affected by it, because the masses will decide whether voices are heard. The masses will be apathetic and complacent enough that the small amount of voices that are speaking up and out aren't heard, because the masses are drowning that out. So they've managed to be able to be completely free and blasé about bringing in a concentrated manner all of the rules and regulations and laws and mandates and decisions that have been in their wildest euphoric orgasmic dreams. And nothing much will get done about it. And this is why I'm passionate about, I'm driven about speaking out about what I see and about what I know. And having seen all of this, I don't remember a time when I didn't see through the spell work. I know I'm here for that. To use my voice, my own truths, to be brave enough to speak out. And thank goodness I'm around many, many people that are, thank goodness, that is my reality right now, that I'm either working with, friends with, loving with, people who are aware also. I'm using my breath in a way that I see as effective and useful. So therefore I'm using my time here to do the same. But breath very definitely of the masses has fogged its own brain up, its own decision making and discernment up, to allow and facilitate the plans and dreams and wants of these beings that are in power. These lines of matter. So I suppose one of the most important questions I do ask myself is, what are you going to do with your time? What are you going to facilitate with your time? What are you going to change with your time? See, that is so important. They've fixed up this spell perfectly. 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 And both sides, if you want to call it sides, of the masked up people and the more awake and aware people, both of them have been, or they've tried to keep enough of a balance of a euphoric orgasmic state. through breath. Because on the masked side, there's that fear aspect, the same type of breath as a euphoric orgasmic experience. And from the virtue signaling, pat on the back, biofeedback, they help maintain that orgasmic state. And on the more awake and aware side, they have kept just enough of a balance to make sure we don't Bolshevik the shit out of this reality. Because they've put out the narratives of the white hats, of the saviors, and even of people planning in a constructive way through fear, because they're fearful of what they can witness and see on the masked side. They can see the direction this collective is fast going into. And so that creates a level of fear. Now, for many people I know, they use that fear productively. They get stuff done, they get stuff, but it's just on, they're still giving that feedback that is wanted from the spell. And on the mass side, they get super cross and possessive over their orgasmic euphoric state. So they get quite orgasmic and euphoric by attacking the awake and aware. So anything we do at the moment is getting drowned out by people that should be on a similar level to us, or a similar wanting to us of do no harm, act in a balanced way. So it still doesn't get to the problem, it still doesn't get to the beings that are manipulating all of this. Now, if we want to go back to time and breath, we then talk about the fact that if these people on the masked side are in this orgasmic euphoric state, the same as in death, and at that same time gene editing is going on, terraforming the physical body, then maybe, just maybe, with their knowings, our knowledge, their knowings, maybe it isn't even our knowledge. Maybe this knowledge should never have been here in this realm. But at that point, they might, in their knowing, be able to have the upper hand of the person that used to be in situ in that body. So like a walk-in, it's easier for them to do a walk-in. And maybe this insane increase in deaths that we are going to see as well, ramping up even more as we come into winter. There is a limited time, or a special amount, maybe down to bodily weight or mass of the planet that it's affecting. Maybe down to that, there's only a certain level of time that those who have had the gene editing, that kind of spirit or that kind of soul can be in situ, in dwelling of that territory. So if that is the case, that might be why there is so much booster talk. That may be certain genetic makeups of certain bodies, whether it's to do with mass, as in weight, whether it's to do with gender, sex, shouldn't have said gender, whether it's to do with DNA lines, certain makeup of certain DNA, and they just need to maybe play around with that to find out, you know, okay, so how much does the body take on board when that person doesn't die, doesn't go. Crazy thoughts. But yeah, what are we doing with our time on the awake and aware side? Because right now we are seemingly just in a biofeedback. I was being active over the weekend with my good friends, and there were certain moments in time when my sister hugged me and said, "You okay?" And I said, "Yeah, just what are we actually changing? What have we stopped them from doing? Like really stopped, like not Boris Johnson, you know, the narcissistic trip that he's all taking us on, the psychedelic narcissistic trip, sorry, that is the Boris Johnson experience, you know. Oh, you know, you can have that toy back. No, I'm going to take it now. Just when you thought, yeah, it's been a few weeks now, I can keep this toy. No, I'm going to take it back. Oh, you can have it back. I've just broken the year off it, and slowly but surely we're just being handed back a freaking leg of the toy now. But I mean, so when I mean stopped or changed, what have we really stopped? Like stopped it from being brought up ever again? The ID passports, the children. And I think part of the reason my thoughts have gone the way they've gone today and yesterday is that I've called a lot of this out before it's happened. I've done that, but what have I even changed with that? What have I stopped from happening? And I've recently been talking a lot more than, not in entirety, because I've talked about this for a long time, but a lot more about the chasing of the tail, the energy feedback that we are given by just opposing a side that it's no point in us opposing, because they're not thinking straight. They're restricted. They've already had all of their freedoms taken because they're so restricted in thought. The chain link is up around their consciousness. Their consciousness is now only the toy of these beings in the shadows, because they will be directed like a doll or an action figure as per the decisions that are made and wants that are made of these beings in the shadows. So it has been a real reflection over the last few days in particular of what are we actually stopping? Because even on the awake and aware, I keep hearing these storylines of these white hats and the small wins that we seem to get, that is actually only Boris handing us a toy back with one more bit snapped off it. Or maybe just pull the stitch in it and even worse, give it back, you know, so that nobody really notices that it's broken in that section. And then the next time they take it, they rip it off. That's what has happened today. It's been announced this morning that the very thing that I was hearing a narrative of 2 weeks ago, that no, that we've stopped it. These white hats in government have stopped it. You know, they've announced, they've let out the news that this body of scientists have said no to the JJ for children. At the time you're thinking, oh, I've seen this plan before they even brought out the JJ. They are going to JJ the children. They're going, that is their plan. Might not be with the same kind. Might not even be with the same kind for different variations of origin of children. But they will JJ. And of course, today he hands back the toy. Well, there's basically only a leg, maybe at a push a hip of the doll, of the toy that he hands back today, by putting out the spell, putting out the status that 4, yes, 4, putting out that status that, oh yes, they will, for 12-year-olds and up. They will JJ the 12-year-olds and up. And alongside that, they put out a security net also, that with the Gaelic competency, by that standards, even though his school would have to have your written permission to, and signature and date, to be able to administer Calpol, paracetamol, to your child, even if they had a raging temperature that needed to be brought down. They would have to do that, but for this, under this Gaelic competency, 12-year-olds can deem themselves mature enough to deal themselves as informed enough to a game that is not even an adult's game. The adults have proved that, because they haven't been able to even state or swear that they've had informed choice, because none of them have, because none of them are informed. None of them can say they're informed under these damn emergency use acts that another saviour helped bring into many of the world's collective. In the, under these things, you do realise they don't want them FDA approved. Because when they're FDA approved, they then have to be transparent about all of the ingredients. And even from the start of this spell work to now, we've gone from knowing 2 ingredients and having 2 different ingredients in, to now 7 ingredients that we're not allowed to know. So yeah, what have we actually stopped? And spell work works and can usually be diminished or defeated by the most simple equations. And the most simple equation would be to mirror effect that magic to the source of the magic. Which would seemingly be the media, because it is media that is the medium for bringing in all of this, even down to a few key politicians being known around the world, known in every country. That brings a certain level of power to it, which would be impossible to have without media. Which literally freeze frame and capture moments of time. So in a moment of time, they can make a politician look real handsome, or real strong, real beautiful, or insanely weak, feeble. And the collective is totally affected by it on both sides. On all sides. And then through our breath, through our actions, that moment of time is manifested en masse enough that it actually then does a big circuit loop of magic and affects the breath work. Therefore, the experience here, the reality here. So yeah, pretty heavy, I think. Pretty disjointed, I think, but let's face it, Boris is taught not to be affected in varying degrees, because, you know, Boris is keeps handing me back a freaking broken toy, and it's more broken every time I actually stop and look at it. Not because my little reality isn't beautiful, it pretty much is. Got beautiful kids, beautiful friends that I call family, beautiful family, you know, beautiful self. I love myself. You know, my reality personally is good, but I know that I have a mission. And I just know that that mission is to oppose the beings that have been in power here for too long, and give a higher experience to others, or give space for a higher experience to be had, a less fearful, more enjoyable experience. And I suppose you get frustrated for sometimes, in that one thought I've been having lately is just that, have these beings just got built up so much power here, built up so much knowledge here, that actually I could be just here to be part of that balance of breath for their reality, for their experience. Am I here to oppose the masked just enough that the endeavors of me will never actually get anywhere other than to build up that loosh, that energy, that directing of mass consciousness here. like I'm a part of the script. And that makes you be a bit quieter. That makes you sort of take it in and think about it and think, am I? And probably even if I'm of the same mind next week, I'll probably still go hard, you know, in my role, because it seems to be innate to me. And I'll probably think, well, I'm just gonna feel my elations when I feel elated because I'm fulfilling my role, or I've done some good. So it's all good in the end. It's all good in the end. But it is just a long train of thought after a long time. So anyway, I'll let you go there. So don't rant on too much. Much love, balance, and wholeness. Use your breath. Be aware of your breath. It seems the more in charge of breath you are, the more in charge of your time you are, and therefore your experience. So, you know, do that. Let me know how your thoughts. Always leave a comment. Much love for those comments. Please like. And I want to say thank you to Robert, Julia, and a couple of other people that I don't have permissions of yet to say a public thank you to donating to me. Amazing. Then that takes my breath away every time. So thank you very much. Much love. So big hugs to everybody. Be you well. I mean that on many levels, and I love you all. Mwah.